Food Run is back, and with it, the hunt for the best fast food in Los Angeles. During Capcom Cup, we talked fighting games and burgers. Find out Filipino Champ's thoughts on Street Fighter V and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. PR Balrog discusses the value of properly popping off. And Ryan Hart and Zorine Te talk about cultivating a new Street Fighter scene. All this and more on our Capcom Cup episodes of Food Run.
Hello, Ryan.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me today on this food run. We are in Anaheim, outside the PlayStation Experience Convention Center, and there is a myriad of food trucks here as well, as it just so happens.
Yes.
And I'm very excited to tuck into these quesadillas and fries as well. It has been a long time since we last saw each other and caught up. How have you been this year? How's 2016 been?
I've been good. I just recently got married in October.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Just got back from my honeymoon, went to the Maldives. Beautiful, beautiful place, had an amazing time. But it did mean that I wasn't able to prepare for Capcom Cup at all. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of like a bit of a sacrifice, but it was totally worth it, and I had a really brilliant time.
Do you feel like the system, like the Capcom Cup system that they have in place, is good the way it is, or would you say that they should change it up next year?
What I liked this year was the fact that having 2 regional qualifiers guaranteed that you would have representation from each continent. I think that's great for the players, I think that's great for the fans, I think it's great for the viewership. And it's great for Capcom as well, because they get those numbers, don't they? But I'm not sure about the way they decide the tournament brackets based on seeding, because this year we had so many last-minute switches that it was very hard to prepare for your opponent. It was very hard to know who you were going to be playing against and to be able to come with a game plan to counter, the game plan of your opponent. And I think that could be something they should work on. I mean, obviously, next year they will have the Proto again, but they've also talked about having this last chance qualifier where you'll be able to qualify for, I believe, Capcom Cup the day before. And I think that's going to be quite hazardous. And also, is it fair that in a tournament where you have to play in qualifiers throughout the year, there's one guy that can just sort of show up and maybe having not done that well throughout the year still get into the tournament just by winning this one thing?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that means for the rest of the tour, if that sort of compromises the integrity of the qualification system in general, or...
The system benefits players who are able to travel a lot, or at least have sponsors or like teams willing to put them up to travel. So I feel like it's kind of unfair for players who don't necessarily have the time or like the money to do that as well.
Oh yeah, it's totally true. There's definitely a difference in, what you can do if you do have support and what you can do if you don't. And I think all the champions are usually sponsored players.
Yeah, and it totally shows, like it's paid off. NuckleDu won Capcom Cup last night in an All-American Grand Final. I did not think we'd ever see that.
I thought that was phenomenal. I was so excited.
But I wonder if that means, we're starting to hit the point where the US players can keep up, or like other international players can keep up with the Japanese.
Well, I think the introduction of Street Fighter V allows for new player progression. It allows for people that haven't been doing as well on Street Fighter 4 to come out and do even better than they did on 4, or actually get into the game now on Street Fighter 5. And it's the first year of the game, so it's still in its teething stages. There are still things that people are learning, even at high level. So there is room for just getting involved and being a part of the scene and being a successful part of the scene, playing and winning tournaments. And I think that now that we've got, All-American champions, I think it's a good time for maybe a few more of the American players to step up and get involved and be a part, or global, just the Western player database in general can feel confident about investing time in Street Fighter V, because it's not something you can't win at, it's not something that's just fully about the Japanese dominating all through top 8 and then winning everything. This goes to show you that Capcom Cup, the biggest tournament of the year, can be won by a non-Japanese player.
Is the EU scene good?
There are dedicated players, which is great. We have an online community, players that play from all over the continent. But if you are trying to train to win tournaments like Capcom Cup, it can be frustrating if you don't have, the competition that you need.
Right,
and just having 2 or 3 other guys that you can only play with sometimes is just not enough, to a degree. So it does get difficult. It becomes very challenging to find ways to improve in Europe. And then, going back to the point about sponsorship, I mean, just not having the resources to travel as well just makes the burden even heavier. It just makes, it's a very massive milestone to clear. But with that said, maybe next year with season 2, maybe more players will get back onto playing. Maybe more players will start being serious about the game now that there's a foreign champion. Maybe like lots of things. I'm hoping for lots of things. Of course, CPT always brings a lot more attention to continent-focused Street Fighter. People always want to travel to their events. When the CPT comes to their country, their city, they make the effort to travel out. And that's I guess that's all we can ask for, really. As long as people keep staying devoted, staying loyal and supporting what the CPT movement is doing, then can only hope for bigger and better things. But as an individual trying to train, for me it's been quite a downhill. It's like a downhill slope in terms of what I've been able to use, because I was in London before and able to have access to offline gameplay at a high level and able to play tournaments regularly. There was a really solid weekly tournament series that was happening then. So, losing all those things, I had better internet in London as well. I don't have that good internet now. So losing all those things has meant that it has been slightly more difficult. But at some point I just decided to just take hold of that and think to myself, you know what? I'm going to make this a new challenge of mine. I'm going to overcome this. This is my problem now, and I'm going to make it my mission to succeed. And I wanted to be able to qualify for Capcom Cup with no scene around me, no scene in the country I live in, no scene in the city. There are players. I have a really nice group of friends in the city I live in, but they're all busy as well. They don't have that much time to play. They might not be playing that seriously as well. There's all different things with each player. But the guys are great, and I'm really lucky to have them. They've really supported me. That's definitely one magical thing about Street Fighter, the way it just allows you to meet people wherever you go in the world. The fact that I play Street Fighter allowed these people to become my friends, and now they've made my life so much better. So yeah, it's such a great compliment that can happen. And no matter where you go as well, I'm sure you moving from Sydney from Sydney here, you've met other people that are part of your community that make your world a brighter place. So yeah, no, I'm really excited. I'm really happy about that. But yeah.
That's so awesome.
2017. It's going to be good.
Yeah. Hopefully 2017 is home to a lot more surprises, and I guess, I don't know if upsets is the right word, but certainly the top 32 at Capcom Cup who played over this weekend, Friday and Saturday, that was just an incredible tournament to watch happen, right? The results, watching them go down, Infiltration, Daigo, Takedo, all those players, it's just so unexpected, and it's kind of refreshing to see.
I think that it shows you how difficult the game is. I think there's definitely an element of it being difficult to be consistent. As the game's developing more, it's becoming more and more difficult to be consistent. In the beginning, Infiltration, for example, was winning. Infiltration and Takedo were winning everything. And then they went 0-2, they both didn't win a game here. So it's just one of those things. I don't think it's a bad thing. They played top players. They played some of the best players in the world, and I don't think that means they're not good players. I mean, it's still Infiltration on a different day. With a different bracket setup, he could have won the tournament. So I don't think much of those things. He didn't win. I don't think much of that, because sometimes the brackets can make that happen. The formula of the brackets. I mean, he played Human Bomb, a Chun-Li player who qualified very late, so it must have been quite hard for Infiltration, who's someone who definitely likes to prepare ahead of time to be ready for him. And then he played Mago, who's a very, very efficient carrying player, and again, a top player who he probably wasn't expecting to face that early on. So it was a difficult run. I mean, I don't really know what else to say. Oh, the other thing was that people weren't some of the players weren't that happy about the time in between to wait. They were very uncomfortable with that,
It was a very long time to wait.
Because you played one match and then you were sort of sitting around for 3-4 hours, and then your next match was up, and it's very difficult to stay focused, to be warmed up, to stay in the zone. Of course, there are pods for you to keep playing if you want to, while you're waiting, but do you really want to play 4 straight hours, then get called up for a match? That could be equally draining. So I think the format there should be considered, because for the players it's too much. By the end of the day, the quality of the matches had definitely diminished somewhat. So people were missing things. The quality of the movement had gone down, and all the players were talking about it. So it's not something just I noticed. So yeah, I know it's difficult though because they want to have it's a broadcast, isn't it? They're trying to put on a show, so it's very difficult to juggle those aspects there. But I'm sure they'll find a way.
Yeah, it sure is. Like, the TOs have got their work cut out for them.
Yeah.
Especially with all the things that happened at this year's tournament, like the door falling on.
Oh, poor Kazunoko. Oh my goodness.
Like, I couldn't believe it happened.
That's so terrible.
When it happened, but those moments are what kind of makes those events memorable. Like, I remember a Capcom Cup 2016. That was when the door fell.
Remember the door guy? Is he going to be called the door guy?
The door guy.
And I think he lost that set when he came out.
No,
with the
he
door.
came out and won.
Did he win that one? Oh, okay.
He 3-0'd it, so everyone was making jokes that the door buffed him.
The
Unlocked his powers.
Overhead leveled him up.
But yes, Ryan, it was awesome to catch up with you. And it sounds like you've got a lot of plans for 2017, so hopefully see you at Capcom Cup.
And I'm interested in investing more time into the community as well. I want to start helping some of these young and up-and-coming talented players to get better. I know what it takes to be at Capcom Cup, to get qualified, to be here. I know what it means to be on a real big stage. I know there are lots of players that do want to be part of this as well, and they do have the time, they are willing to be dedicated and devoted. And I want to help those players to be able to get here, because at the moment, there's no real clear-cut avenue as to how you become a professional player, as to how you qualify for big events. There's nothing that's, set in stone. And I want to start helping pave the way for that to be a reality.
That's awesome. We'll drink to that. Cheers, mate.
Whoops, sorry.
All right.
Cheers.